will be the case flow, and then
of course. I think we cleaned that up pretty nicely by the end. Once the overviews were dispelled, it became easier. Yep.
This debate began and will end with what parts of reality are selected and deflected. The way that we come to know the world predetermines the value that we are able to find in the world. They reinstate their privilege by never analyzing how their particular privilege applies. The arguments that they make in the debate, the 180 forefronts the fact that having access to speech is something that we are the only ones that are able to challenge. However, the reason that we need to be able to challenge this form of speech is because it is a part of the means by which we create the biopolitical deception, by the way in which we create this form of genocidal politics. The piece of Butler evidence in the 180 indicates that is the mere process of deeming something as dangerous that allows it to exist in a legal limbo where it is just stuck in the political space of Guantanamo Bay. They prescribe their method without actually heeding the perspectives of the soul and altar. This is the exact logic that allows for lesser privileged figures to be ignored when, for instance, the man is given the status as being the gatekeeper of knowledge, whereas the woman is merely an accessory to that. They don't analyze their motivations for speaking as well. The notion that this is some sort of performative context is important to be able to understand why the permutation in this debate is going to be particularly important, because we provide a method to be able to understand the claims that they are making in this debate around. They can't know truth without having an epistemological grounding for that truth. There are other impacts. Also indicates that the truth value argument of what is said are predetermined by the social location of the speaker. That means that things that, like gender, it means that a woman has the presumption as against her, whereas the man has the presumption on her side. This leads to a form of genocide geopolitics. Our McNoble and Tosanova indicates that the decision to ignore social locations is a means by which knowledge production becomes genocidal by prescribing solutions which no regard to the particular context. They route certain knowledge production. The basis for why we don't promise the non-human animal as being a good form of knowledge production is because they are the European other. They are the European subject that the 1AC has already criticized. They say that speaking location will inevitably exclude the animals, but the animal is not excluded from the speaking location if we are all animals. However, this does mean that we need to be able to understand how we relate to each other and how we talk to each other, which is the 1AC. They said that we begin with people and then into people, and then move to the thing. However, this is the point, that it's a process of unlearning your privilege. You cannot be cognizant of all of the privilege that you have. However, you need to try, you need to work to grapple how that privilege makes different arguments have a certain way while others don't. They say that there's a they make this argument how it's a joy to fight against the system, but it's not joy. The fact that I have privilege that another person doesn't is antagonizing to me. It makes me frustrated that the opportunities that Concordia or Harvard has given me would be completely different to the opportunities from a different for a person from a different socioeconomic class. The reason that it's about antagonizing the way in which the subject goes about having privilege. It's not fun. It should be hard. They make this Guantanamo exceptions of arguments. However, the piece of Butler evidence indicates that biopolitics is an excellent example of the same exception, because it's a space where people can exist in legal limbo. There are 86 people who have already been cleared for release from Guantanamo, yet they can merely sit there rotting away in this jail cell. The way in which the act comports itself to European and non-European knowledge is also pretty indicative that this term doesn't apply, because we criticize the entire American Eurocentric machine that disqualifies the non-European other. Proceed. They mishandle the general language argument. The first piece of wolf evidence they read doesn't make sense. It says that privileging humans in the context of sexuality is bad, which is an ass argument. Derrida does use a universal man to describe humanity's relationship to animals in context matters. Notice that Emily is the only female in the room at UMKTV. Didn't even debate a single female, nor had a single female judge. This is normal debate because female speakers are relegated to whining, bitching, and nagging and are often spoken over, ignored. I talked about this in the 1AC. People often ask me questions instead of Emily because they assume I know better or more validated to speak. And speak that are also indicates that when a woman speaks, the presumption is against her, which is exemplified by their evidence. In this instance, it's particularly bad. We made a clear argument when it came about gender relations in debate, yet the negative still choose to read evidence that uses a man as a universal signifier for all things that didn't gender paraphrase or make a statement about the adjective gender language. The writing center evidence says male-based generics are another indicator, and more importantly, a reinforcer of a system in which man in the abstract and man in the flesh are privileged over women. Words matter, and language choices have consequences. Your valid actions in the social hierarchy of debate. If Harvard BS loses on a gender language argument, that sends waves to the community, because everybody will ask why did Concordia beat them, and when you have to answer it's because Harvard uses gender language. That creates a someone the Spivak argument answers, the link grounds that he's going for is merely insufficient to... does somebody have a timer? Remind me to stop. It is insufficient to acknowledge, to state that we can allow business to be able to go on as usual, that we can simply choose not to act, that we can simply choose to deconstruct the 1AC attempts to understand how this deconstruction can be useful. But in order to do that, you have to know who is deconstructing and what value that person has when they say they are deconstructing. You cannot critique notions of communication when you are in a communication activity. We need to be able to understand relationships to others. They say that we don't get a permutation because we're a critical advocacy. However, we write a plan and I created a method to evaluate that plan. So I don't think these arguments apply. The permutation has no dissent to it. That is a result by the fact that the 1AC is a prerequisite to being able to understand the impacts of the criticism. We are a prerequisite to being able to understand how deconstructing the subject at all is anything, or what that means for the non-human other. We have to be able to find these relationships with the other. And the genocidal geopolitics argument from cases and net benefit to the permutation that I don't think they can access because they have not attempted to criticize their location in this debate.
No, we don't know what the world of veil is.
Yeah, there's no idea what the world of veil is. It's something about deconstruction that probably means the permutation can do it too. Thank you. Good debate. Good debate.